your right hand, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give to the court and the jury on the matter currently pending before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, sir?
I do.
Please be seated. Would you state your first and last name for the court and the jury, please, sir?
My name is Christopher Robinson.
Can you spell your last name for the court, reporter, please, sir?
Robinson.
Okay, what is your current occupation and position?
I'm a private forensic consultant. I'm the president of my own company, Chris Robinson Forensics.
Could you please speak a little louder?
Yes, sir.
Please tell us about your training and education.
I received my bachelor's degree in chemistry from Berry College in Rome, Georgia in May of 1995. I began my career in the forensic field at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, where I worked as a firearm examiner for 10 years. I then left that position and became the director of the crime lab for the City of Atlanta Police Department, where I held that position for approximately 2.5 years. I'm now the president of my own company, and I've had that position for the past 5 years. During my 17-year career, I've logged approximately 15,000 hours on the comparison microscope and performed over 100,000 forensic examinations. I completed 8 armors courses, I've been to 8 manufacturing plants, and I've currently worked over 7,000 actual cases.
Mr. Ross, approximately how many times may you testify in court, sir?
It'll be 597 today.
How many times for the prosecution?
520.
How many times for the defense?
It'll be 77 today.
Have they all been in the state of Georgia?
No, sir.
What other state have you testified in?
Alaska, Missouri, South Carolina, Louisiana, Florida, Alabama, Kansas, Iowa.
Have you testified for the district attorney, the district attorney office in Athens, Clark County?
Yes, sir.
How many times have you testified for the district attorney office in Athens, Clark County?
Between 50 and 75, somewhere in that number, a great deal.
Mr. Ross, have we ever met before this trial?
No, sir.
When you examined at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, that worked on the shooting case of my brother Timothy Hood?
I was.
Okay. Have you had any problems because you worked on my brother's case?
No, sir.
Did you know that you or I know that you were the guy who worked on my brother's case prior to any time y'all first visit?
That's an improper question.
Well, Your Honor, I'd like to say, introduce Mr. Robinson to the curriculum details, Exhibit 84, in the evidence, please, sir.
Mark that 84.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Is that right?
Well, the next one I have is 59.
Well, I'm sorry. I just went out of order.
That's all right, so that's 84.
Yes, sir.
I would probably like to copy that. We've never been provided a copy of this at all. In addition, I don't believe it would be admissible in the evidence. I think I don't mind him identifying that. If we want to put it in the record, that's fine, but I don't think it goes in the evidence at all as far as his CD. So we'd like a copy of that, and we've not been provided a copy of this prior to trial required.
Are you seeking to make it part of the record, or are you seeking?
The record, but it should not go into evidence. We would object to it going into evidence, Judge. If he wants to have identified and somehow put it in the record, but with the evidence, it would obviously be by the jury. He can testify to whatever his qualifications might be. But I don't believe he can
That's why I was
actually.
asking Mr. Hood what he was asking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were looking
show that, hey, we got some evidence he is who he say he is, and the things that he have done, that was, so they can see it and view it however they want to see it.
He testified to that, and that would be the proper way to do that, as other experts who testify.
I will admit it as part of the record, but not as evidence.
Okay. Let them see.
I'll give you a copy of it sometime.
Could you please review that and tell the jury what that is, your written vitae, sir?
Yes, sir, this is a copy of my curriculum vitae that I have presented to you.
Okay, what is that? Explain what a curriculum vitae is for the jury.
It's just more or less like your resume, all the positions I've held, the places I've testified, all the courses I've taken, the people that I consult with, things of that nature.
All right. Mr. Robin, do you know Kelly Fight?
I do.
Could you tell us how you know Mr. Fight?
He was the former manager of the firearms section at the GBI. He was my former trainer. He's the one who taught me to do what I do. I've known him for 17 years.
Okay. Your Honor, I would like to move to have Mr. Robinson qualified as an expert in the field of firearm identification on shooting reconstruction and crime scene reconstruction.
Firearms identification, what else?
Shooting reconstruction and crime scene reconstruction.
Shooting reconstruction.
And crime scene reconstruction.
Any
With
objection?
regard to any voir dire, I'll just state now, there's not a basis for anything but perhaps firearms identification. I think he indicated some of the qualifications he has, but there's nothing in regard to shooting reconstruction or crime scene reconstruction. We've heard no evidence about that in regard to his qualifications in that regard. So at this point, he's not laying the appropriate foundation in that regard. But I may want to hear him at some point, but at this point, he has not laid the foundation for that. I think firearms identification, I would probably understand that, but I still like to want to hear him at that point when it comes to time.
I will allow Mr. Robinson to testify as an expert in firearms identification and firearms identification as related to.
Yeah, what, dear, then before we do that?
You just said you agree with firearms identification.
No, I said, but I still would want to, what, dear, concerning that,
On firearms identification?
well.
Let me finish my statement, that may answer your question.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
I'll allow Mr. Robinson to testify as an expert in the area of firearms identification and as firearms identification as related to crime scene reconstruction. And that's all I'm declaring at this point. Now, you won't be heard. Just from this moment.
I don't think, I guess my point is, I don't believe there's not been any evidence elicited about him ever processing a crime scene or being involved in that whatsoever.
I'm only doing it as part of a crime scene reconstruction. Firearms. You can make an objection when that time comes in that regard. But I can see how that can be considered as one area.
Well, he was, again, I don't believe there's any evidence that he has done anything with regard to crime scene. He has not established any matters in regard to a crime scene, that he's ever been to a crime scene, that he's ever worked a crime scene, that he's ever processed a crime scene, or anything like that. And for him to be able to talk about firearms identification in regard to a crime scene, so.
Objections, no.
Yes. I reserve further costs by the qualifications in very well, better than what here at this point.
All right.
Ms. Roberts, can you please tell us what you reviewed in preparation of this case?
I reviewed crime scene photographs, crime scene reports, police reports, crime lab reports, videos, basically all the materials in the discovery of the case.
Could you please just speak up a little louder so I'm having trouble hearing?
I'm sorry.
I don't have any control of the volume anymore, so it's all on.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Did you review anything on my Cadillac?
I did.
Did you review my discovery? Did you review any discovery in my case?
I did.
Okay. Did you have the occasion to review my Cadillac on this case?
I did, yes, sir.
On what date did you perform your examination?
January 28th of 2015.
Okay. What were you asked to do in regards to the Cadillac?
I was asked to perform a trajectory analysis to study the path of the bullet that was in the door of the Cadillac.
Okay, could you explain to the jury what a trajectory analysis, what trajectory is?
When I arrived, I was examining the Cadillac. I found that there was a bullet hole of entry inside the Cadillac. The bullet passed through the door and exited on the outside of the Cadillac. I basically had the crime scene personnel for the city take apart the door. We placed a trajectory rod through the door, which allowed me to determine the angle that the bullet passed through the door, from the back to the front, up and down, things of that nature.
Okay. Was your door of the Cadillac taken apart?
It was not taken apart until I arrived, and I instructed them to take the door apart.
Why was this done?
Because we were not able to put the trajectory rod, which is just a metal rod, through the hard plastic inside the Cadillac. We could not find the exit hole on the outside of the door, so we took out the interior portion of the door so we could find the proper angle that the bullet passed through the door.
Was the door ever taken apart by the police or the prosecutor officer prior to you taking the door apart?
No, sir. They said they were waiting on me.
Why didn't they do it?
Well, he can answer that question. Why didn't they do it as speculation?
Objection, speculation, you want to be heard?
Yeah, if he talked to him and asked him, why he, that's, I guess, what I wanted, the reason why I'm asking this is to go to the investigation of the case.
Well, I'm gonna sustain the objection, speculation, as you asked.
Okay. Did you find it strange that Cadillac door wasn't taken apart and the bullet hole was in?
I guess so. I figured that they would have already done it before I got there, yes, sir.
Why would you have figured that?
Because it's standard that the police go ahead and place the rods through and do their own investigation before I arrive. I'm the only one that placed a rod through the door. I'm the only one that instructed him to take the door apart. So it was basically, I was working for you and I was the one taking the door apart.
Okay. Do you think this was important? Was it important taking that door apart? Do you think that was important?
Yes, sir, I think it's critical.
Why would you think it's critical, sir?
Because it goes to the crux of the case about the location of the cartridge case in the back seat of your Cadillac and the bullet hole to the door. They are related, so therefore it would be critical to know what the angle is to see if it corresponds to the positioning of the cartridge case that was found in the back seat of the Cadillac.
Did you, what was the angle of the shooting through the door? Did you check the angles?
Yes, sir. The defect is 10 degrees downward and 30 degrees from the toward the rear.
Could you explain what 10 degrees and 30 degrees mean to the jury?
It would be easier if I had a photograph. Can I use the photographs that I took of the Cadillac?
You still have to lay the foundation.
Did you take any photographs of the work you done on that Cadillac when you investigated?
Yes, sir, I did.
Approximately how many, what did you use to take the photograph?
I used my iPhone.
Was anybody present at the scene when you took the pictures to perform your investigation of that crime, of the Cadillac?
Yes, sir, a number of the police department, the crime scene personnel, as well as Mr. Kelly Fight, the expert for the state, was standing there when I did that photographing.
Did you see anybody from the DA office there present?
I saw Mr. Malden for a short time, and I didn't believe he left.
Did Mr. Malden watch you take pictures of the Cadillac?
No, sir, I do not think he did.
Was he there when you took the door part of the Cadillac?
No, sir, he was not, but Mr. Volkadev was.
Okay, could you point out to the jury who Mr. Volkadev is?
The attorney sitting beside Mr. Malden.
Okay. Approximately how many pictures did you take of the Cadillac?
I believe between 15 and 20.
Okay. Why did you take pictures of the Cadillac?
Just to document the work that you performed, document the ride of the door, document the angles that were seen, the defect on the outside of the car, a close-up, defect of the entry into the car, the entrance defect. You're just documenting everything that you saw in the Cadillac.
Okay, did you take pictures of the doors that were taken apart? Did you take a picture of the door that was taken apart?
Absolutely.
Your Honor, I would ask you to have proper foundation to show pictures.
Yeah, that, it hasn't shown him anything, Judge. I mean, I think the fact that
Okay.
he took pictures, that do anything.
What could I ask?
He's got, I guess, of the pictures that Robinson may have took, what they have taken is finished, it was 59 through 65. Which is consists of 7 photos. He indicated he took 15 to 20 photos. We were not provided 15 to 20 photos, but there's only 7 photos here. These other pictures on the lake, I see anything that Chris Robertson may have taken, you know, so.
You wanted to look at those?
Yeah, he can look at those. Some of them stated that I have been photo to.
Okay. Let's just stay with the ones that we're seeking to admit now.
And Your Honor, for the record, I thought I gave them discovery of all the pictures, actually more pictures than this, as for Mr. Robinson and the Cadillac pictures. So I think he was aware of the particular picture that Mr. Robinson took. And we did not use all of them, we just used the one that we want. So he do have knowledge of the picture that Mr. Robinson took. I gave it to him a reciprocal discovery, sir.
Just let him look at those, and then if you have any other questions to establish foundation.
Mr. Robinson, do you recognize what you see in the 59 through 65?
I do.
This is a very accurate presentation of the picture that you took of the Cadillac.
They are.
Your Honor, I would like to attend the evidence that's in the 59 through the appendix 65.
Rejection.
Objection.
Wait a minute.
Mr. Robinson, before I show you those pictures, I would like to ask you a few more questions, sir. Are you aware of what type of weapon was used during the shooting incident involving Cadillac?
Yes, sir.
Could you tell us what you know about that?
The cartridge case that we...
That there is no testimony that there was a shooting incident involving the Cadillac at all, Judge. There's no evidence about that, and there hasn't been any evidence in here. There's no factual basis to even ask that question.
Sustained.
Don Brooks already classified, the state star witness said somebody robbed Jamie. Remember that? Somebody robbed Jamie. I know he robbed before he told me.
I don't recall any evidence regarding a shooting. Ask another question, please. In regard to the Cadillac.
Yeah, that's why I got, he telling you, go look down the right side of the Cadillac, y'all been listening to Don Brooks? They testified to it throughout this trial. The detective said it's a
Perhaps ask a narrower question.
What do you mean there? I don't know how, because I'm speaking of a shooting incident. And your state started with it,
Which
Don
shooting?
Brooks. Of the Cadillac, the one with, go look at the right side, the bullet hole in the car, somebody robbed, Jamie shot in his car. That's what I'm talking about. This is what we're talking about.
Okay, that's what the defendant may have said, Judge, but he's talking about if you're aware of what kind of weapon was involved or whatever it is. There was not any evidence about it.
They found a shell casing in my car. The state forensic guy that did it, ballistic test as well as he. These are relevant questions. The jury heard it. Go check the side of the Cadillac. He got robbed. Somebody shot in his car. That's what we're talking about.
Mr. Good, ask the question again.
Are you aware of what type of weapon was used during the shooting incident involving Cadillac?
There's been no evidence about anything like that.
The shell casing, Your Honor, that's where it come from. I've been telling people for years. The shell casing, the state, his expert said it come from a high point 40. Then they matched the 6 shell casing, and me and him that talked about it. That's why he went and took the car apart and took the picture, because I didn't hold it.
Mr. Good, I'll allow the question.
Again, are you aware of what type of weapon was used during the shooting incident involving the Cadillac?
Yes, sir.
Is your understanding that the same gun used to shoot in my Cadillac was the same gun used to kill Mr. Omari Wray?
Your Honor, there's no basis to do that. Not only is that a leading question, but there's absolutely no way that he can say that. And I would not expect Mr. Robinson to ever say that somehow the bullet hole, the gun that provided the bullet hole in that passenger side of the car left the casing there in the back whatsoever. You're not going to be able to say that.
Sustained.
You know, this where it come from. Where is it coming from?
Ask him another question. I've sustained that objection.
Do you know how the high point 40 pistol eject the cartridge casing?
Yes, sir.
Could you explain?
It ejects its cartridge cases to the right and rear at about a 45-degree angle, approximately 6 to 8 feet.
Are you aware of a cartridge case that was found in the backseat of my Cadillac?
I am.
Because you tell the jury what you know about that.
I was asked to examine that particular cartridge case with respect to the cartridge cases that were recovered from the Kenneth Ray scene, and I was able to match the cartridge cases to each other.
Okay, so the same shell case you found in the backseat of my Cadillac, did they forensically match the same shell case you found at the Omari Wray murder scene?
They match to the same weapon, and they're the same manufacturer, same caliber, CCI brand ammunition.
Are you aware of any, reviewing any discovery that Don Brooks stated I was robbed and he knew I was robbed, and somebody shot in my car?
No, that was never that testimony. The testimony was that John Brooks indicated that the defendant told him that. And there's not any evidence of that John Brooks knew I was robbed or anything other than the defendant told him that.
Your Honor, I respectfully, we can play it back. Don Brooks said, I just played stupid. I know he was robbed before he told me I just played stupid. The jury didn't heard it. Want me to play it? I will. He didn't heard it. Don Brooks knew I was robbed.
I'm going to allow the question.
Could you please answer the question?
Okay. Ask the question again, please. I'm sorry.
Have you reviewed any discovery? And while you was on my case, that would show that Don Brooks knew I was robbed and somebody shot in my car on the right side of my car?
Yes, sir. Based on his video testimony, yes, sir. He stated that he knew that you were robbed before you had told him that you were robbed and that they shot into your car. Yes, sir.
Okay. Therefore, can it be concluded that the person who robbed me Also use the same gun that shot Mr. Omari Wray?
The same gun, I can't testify to the same person, but it would be assuming that the same gun was used in both crimes because they were matched to each other. Yes, sir.
I would like for you to I'd like for you to look at defendant exhibit 59, sir. Could you explain to the jury what in your pictures, the defendant exhibit 59, did you take that picture?
Yes, sir, I did.
Could you explain, I've got a little layers up here, sir. Ms. Ross,
Okay.
you got a little red layers up there.
I thought you could draw on the screen, so. I
Right
can?
here.
Oh, you cannot? Okay. All right. Yeah, this is the bullet defect on the outside of the car. This is where the bullet exited the door.
Could you explain to the jury what defendant exhibit 60 is?
This is the entry hole inside of the Cadillac. It's halfway up on the door where the cup holder area is. It's into this hard molded plastic.
Could you explain what defendant exhibit 61 is, sir?
This is just a picture of the inside of the Cadillac. You can see down here at the very bottom, it's very dark, but you can see that the rod is pointing. It's just the rod is inserted through the door, so that's giving the angle that the rod was pointing out through the door.
Could you explain to the jury what defendant exhibit 62 is, sir?
Again, another picture from a different location of the rod pointing in through the car.
Why did you take this picture from this angle?
You always document from multiple different angles just so you get an overview of how the rod is in different positions within the car.
I'd like you to look at defendant exhibit 63.
That's given the up and down angle of the bullet passing through the door. It just gives you the angle that the bullet passed through the door, up to down.
Why did you take this picture at this angle?
Because I want to document that's the angle that the bullet passed through the door, so everybody gets an idea. So when I tell you it's 10 degrees downward, that's what I'm talking about. It's 10 degrees downward.
Did anybody from the state or the prosecutor office do the same investigations you did?
No, sir.
Could you explain to the jury what the defendant exhibit 64 is?
This is just a picture of the door opened up with the door stripped away, again showing the angle, just multiple angles.
Did you explain what defendant 65 is, sir?
This is giving you can see it's right to left here. It's got a 30-degree angle going to the rear. I just want to show the angle into the door.
You know, I don't think you got, I can't, 66, did he object to 66 before I put it up there?
I don't have 66 down.
That's what I didn't think.
I don't think he did.
You have not
Reduce
introduced
those
it.
photos. I don't know, and I don't know whether this witness can do that. Those are not photos that you took, if I'm not mistaken.
Mr. Ross, could you look at the state's exhibit 64 and tell us what this is?
This is a picture of the rear seat of your Cadillac.
Could you tell us what state's exhibit 65 is, sir?
This is a picture taken by the police of the cartridge case that was found in the rear of your back seat, lodged down in the seat belt area of the car.
Why would you think this is an important picture? Do you think why?
It's very difficult to see the cartridge case. It's lodged down inside the seatbelt holder. It appears to, you could miss it very easily. It's very critical to know where the cartridge case was found and in what position it was found.
Okay. cartridge case, and now if you examine it, or you, as your investigation as far as trajectory rod, is that how you think you got back there? Just your opinion, how it got back there?
If you could go back to, if I can see the photographs for 1 second. Hang on 1 second, ma'am. I'll let you take this back to him.
What you want me to fix it to?
Please. The positioning of the cartridge case is in the right passenger area back seat.
Did you use your, explain to the jury what's a little later?
It's back here in the back seat on the right passenger side. If the gun was being fired in through the car and the gun was inside the vehicle, it would eject to the right and rear. So the cartridge case would be in the back right area. So if someone were to have pointed a weapon into your car and fired at you within the vehicle, it would have ejected the cartridge case to its location where it was located. And if you go back to the other photograph now, sir, this is in the right passenger area, so the cartridge case would have bounced in this area and could have easily been lodged down in there.
States Exhibit 66, you please tell us what that is.
That's just an overall picture of the cartridge case that was recovered from that seatbelt area.
Mr. Young, I don't know how you feel about this, but I wanted to demonstrate to the jury what Mr. Robinson, as far as the position I was in, as far as what happened during this robbery, and we can demonstrate to the jury how it was and the angle of the gun, and we can demonstrate, we can pass do a demonstration.
I don't know how he could do that.
Well, I sit right here at the table, and I show him my help. He can come right here. He can come over here, and we done it, you know, as far as us getting ready for trial. So he can come over here and demonstrate. Only I can sit there and everybody can look.
No evidentiary basis for him to do that, Judge, at all. He's such a
Well,
demonstration of that.
Demonstrative evidence, as far as demonstration. Now, I'm going to testify, but you want me to hold them all after I take the stand? I'm going to tell the jury what happened when I testify. I'm going to testify like I told them.
He responded to objection.
I'm not going to allow a demonstration by this witness what happened.
He gonna show you the angle of the gun, how the gun possibly got back there, because we want them to have a clear picture, not just no word of mouth.
You just have to ask him questions if you can.
Wow. Mr. Robbins. Is the cartridge case that was found in the back seat of my Cadillac, is it consistent with the gun being discharged within the car?
Yes, sir.
How would you know that?
Because if it ejects to the right and rear about 6 to 8 feet, if it was discharged outside of the car, the high point doesn't eject forward. It would be ejecting to the rear, so it'd be outside the car. In order for the cartridge case to be found inside the car, the gun would have to be discharged inside the car, whether it be 2 inches, 5 inches, 20 inches. It would have to be inside the vehicle. For it to be in the location that it was found, it would have to be in about between 1 to 2 feet at that angle that you saw the rod going through the door, and it would have ejected in the proper location to the right side of the rear seat.
Now, Mr. Robbins, did you review any reciprocal discovery or any evidence pertaining to the police shooting incident on Officer Tony Howard?
I did.
What did you review in relation to this particular, of that particular scene, Officer Howard?
Bullets recovered, weapons recovered, cartridge cases recovered, all of the scene photographs, all the discovery pertaining to that particular shooting incident.
Did you review the police reports?
I did.
Approximately how many police reports you think you reviewed of Officer Howard, sir?
I can't tell you, sir. It was hundreds of pages, if not thousands of material.
Okay. Did you review any photographs of Officer Howard's scene?
I did.
What do the picture of the cartridge case indicate to you, based on the position the cartridge case was located in the front driver's seat of Officer Howard's vehicle?
That the gun, again, was discharged very close to inside the vehicle. It would have to be at least inside the vehicle enough to strike the frame to fall down. The Smith & Wesson pistol performed an ejection pattern test to determine exactly how this weapon ejects its cartridge cases. It ejects its cartridge cases at an angle of 45 degrees, a distance of approximately 6 feet 5 inches. So that's to the right and rear. So for someone to get a cartridge case inside the vehicle, the ejection port had to be very close to inside the vehicle, or at an angle that it would eject the cartridge case inside the vehicle.
Okay.
The second cartridge case is at the right rear tire. Again, it ejects to the right and rear, so the gun would have to be bladed kind of back toward the front of the car, so it would eject the cartridge case, and it would end up in its position at the right rear tire.
Did you do anything on the trajectory analysis of the vehicle by the police? What was the trajectory analysis of the police about your trajectory analysis that you performed? What would that tell you about the gunshot to the left cheek of Officer Howard?
That would just tell me his positioning. I mean, he shot in the left cheek. The bullet passed through the left cheek, across the other side, and goes across into the I-beam or the B-pillar across the car. So at that point, that shot's going almost straight through the car. It goes into the seat. I believe there's a picture of a rod that's going into the other pillar across the way, so you can tell that that shot's going through the car.
Okay. You stated the second cartridge case was found beside the driver's side of the rear tire. How many feet? Would it be 4 to 4.5 feet, or 5 or 6 feet? What would that be?
I believe it's around 3.5 to 4 feet from the right driver's side tire to that window area, so about 3 to 4 feet.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, how would you know that the ejection pattern? Could you explain to the jury? Could you just show them the ejection pattern of the Smith & Wesson 40 caliber pistol?
And what you do is you take 2 pieces of string, you make an X, you place the ejection port of the gun over the top, and then you fire the weapon, and you have someone mark the cartridge cases where they land on the ground. After that, I plug it into a program that I have on my computer that gives you the exact distance and the exact angle of approximately of the 10 shots that were fired from the weapon. So it ejects its cartridge cases at an angle of 45 degrees, and the average is 6 feet 5 inches.
How do you know this?
This is by me testing the gun, but the same ammunition that was used and the same weapon.
Did you have a chance to test the gun that was used in the police shooting incident?
Yes, sir.
Could you tell the jury what investigation and testing you done on that particular gun?
I matched the bullets that were recovered back to the gun. I matched the cartridge cases that were recovered back to the gun, just as was already done by the GBI. I just went a step further and I performed my ejection pattern test with the weapon in question.
Okay. Could you have the data let him use the gun and show the jury, you know, the test he used on it from the gun? Just like the state expert did when he was using the gun and showing the jury the same thing.
As far as how to held the gun?
Yes, you know, the ejection pattern, how it works.
I'll allow that. Do we have that here?
I'm gonna sit down, get like the state, or when I sit down, get right here so I can see.
What number?
I don't know.
913.
And the witness that, and have him read off what it says, what number that is, please. What evidence, what exhibit number?
State's Exhibit 913 was a Smith & Wesson 40 caliber pistol, serial number RAV 9043.
Mr. Robinson, that the gun that you recall testing?
Yes, sir, it is. May I step down?
Mr. Robinson, can you stand so I can see you a little bit?
Sort of an angle, but yes, so we can.
Okay. I'm going to be pointing the gun in this direction toward the door, so nobody's being pointing at it. The gun would eject to the right and rear at a 45-degree angle. So basically, the corner of Mr. Baldwin's desk here, so that's where they would land on the ground. This gun ejects at a 45-degree angle, about 6 feet 5 inches. That's approximate. I'm not measuring it, but that's how it would eject. That's where they land. That's not where they bounce, not where they roll. That's where someone marks them on the ground.
Mr. Robinson, what do that ejection pattern test tells you?
It tells me when I look at a crime scene and I see the positioning of cartridge cases. For example, on this particular scene, there's a cartridge case in the front seat of the driver's side. There's a cartridge case at the rear driver's side tire. So this helps me get a better understanding of the positioning of the shooter during the shooting and where the cartridge cases were located at the scene. And then how the gun ejects its own cartridge cases.
Now, again, you said no demonstration, right? So I'm not paying that part, you said no demonstration.
I only said it to the demonstrators you were asking about before.
Okay. What, do you recall me and you going over the demonstration of what I said what happened between me and Officer Howard?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Well, he can do that, Judge, that would be, his nature of his very self-serving, you know, to do all that. I don't think he would.
I said you can't do that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Me and you done talked about what I told you happened during that police shooting incident with me and Mr. Howard.
Yes, sir.
Have you and I looked at police reports pertaining to the police shooting incident between me and Officer Howard?
Yes, sir.
Have you all have you, reviewed any witness statement and recordings pertaining
Yes.
to that?
Yes, sir.
Based on the information you have, can you please provide a demonstration of what occurred during the shooting incident, you know, from what?
Your Honor, I don't believe he can do that. I mean, I think he's, talking about that because he's talking about statements that was in self-serving. That would not be a problem.
That objection is sustained.
Well, Your Honor, I would like to have Mr. Roberts look at some pictures then. Mr. Roberts?
These are pictures that already been admitted?
Yes, sir.
Right.
These states is it.
That's fine.
Mr. Roberts, I'd like to look at State's Exhibit 218, sir.
Yes, sir.
Could you tell us what you see in State's Exhibit 218?
This is a-
Red laser. Explain to the jury what the red laser is, so you know.
This is a picture of the rear of Officer Tony Howard's car. There's a cartridge case located beside the driver's side rear tire.
What would that, cartridge case at the right side rear tire tell you as far as ejection patterns?
Means the gun will be pointing basically more toward the front area because it ejects to the right and rear.
Could you show
So-
that on the picture with the laser so they can see
For,
it?
for it to be back here by this tire, the gun would have to be pointing up in this direction to eject to the right and rear. So it'd be,
Sir, and I understand, yes, when he said up in this direction, I'll be honest with you, I think he's moving the laser one way or another. And I understand.
toward,
If you
okay,
can describe.
sorry, toward the front of the vehicle. The gun would be pointing more toward the front of the vehicle. That way it would eject the cartridge case to the right and rear at a 45-degree angle.
Could you tell us what you see in State's Exhibit 220?
This is another picture of Officer Howard's vehicle. The cartridge case is right beside the driver's side rear tire.
Okay. I think this is a better picture. Could you show the angle of what you might think?
The gun would be pointing toward the front of the vehicle at an angle in order to eject the cartridge cases toward this area, toward the car, toward this right rear tire.
Could you please tell the jury what you see in State's Exhibit 234, please, sir?
This is the interior of Officer Howard's car. You see it, the cartridge case is inside of the vehicle. If you'll leave that up there for one more second, I'm sorry. That tells me again, the gun will either have to be facing toward the front or at an angle where this cartridge case would have to strike something to fall inside the vehicle, or the ejection port would have had to eject the cartridge case into the vehicle. Now in this case, the shot is straight across this seat, so that tells me that the gun would have to be almost inside this window frame that you see, because the cartridge case would have had to have ejected and then fell back into the car.
Could you explain to the jury what you see in State's Exhibit 327, sir?
Again, another picture of the interior of the car with the cartridge case. This is the window frame. So this gun ejects to the right and rear. So in order for the shot to have came across the car and end up in the car, the ejection port of the gun, which, may I see the gun one more time? May I approach the jury, Your Honor? I'm just going to show them the ejection port.
Well,
Sorry.
I prefer there's a question
Okay, sorry.
about doing that.
Okay, sorry.
Before we do that.
Okay, Ms. Ross, why would that, if the gun eject to the right and rear, why would it land in that seat?
Because the ejection port of the gun would have to be inside of this window sill, because if it ejects to the right and rear, if the gun were pointed in, it would strike, either this window frame and fall back into the car. It would have to strike something, be inside the vehicle in order to fall back in, because otherwise, if it was outside the car, it would eject to the right and rear and be away from the vehicle. It would not be inside the vehicle.
Could you demonstrate the position of the gun might have been in this State Exhibit 327?
I just want to make sure the jury understands this is the ejection port of the gun. This is where the gun ejects its cartridge cases. So
Can you do it from there?
I can, yes, Your Honor. If this were the window frame of the car, the gun would have to be inside the frame in order to strike the frame of the car. It could strike the ceiling of the car, because when I say 6 to 8 feet, it's not like it just comes straight back. It has to go up in an arc. So it could strike the ceiling, it could strike the frame, but the gun would be more or less inside of the frame of the car. Yes, sir.
Well, before I ask you another question, if that gun from your investigation was inside the car, let me put this back up there. Are you saying that from your investigation that you think the gun was inside that car in order for this shell case to get in the seat?
You'll be very close to this window frame. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know anything about gunpowder residue or stipplings?
Yes, sir, I
Can
do.
you tell the jury what you know about that?
Which one?
Gunpowder, stipple, the whole gun, whatever you know
Okay.
about.
Gunshot residue.
I don't know whether he could, it's two different things. You know, gunpowder residue is one thing. Stippling involves matters that occurred,
I
that left to the medical examiner.
I withdraw it.
I'll sustain the objection, ask another question.
Could you tell us what you know about gunpowder?
Gunpowder. When you fire a weapon, a bullet leaves the barrel.
Could you please speak a little louder, sir?
Also, unburnt gunpowder particles leave the barrel. Gunshot residue, vaporous residues. You have other things that are emitted from the barrel. Inside of a vehicle such as this, you can test different surfaces to see if there's any gunshot residue, if there's gunpowder residues. If there's clothing involved, you can test that as well to see if there's gunpowder on the clothing, vaporous lead on the clothing, or gunpowder particles themselves.
Why would gunpowder get on clothing? Explain how could that happen?
Within 3 feet is where you expect to see gunpowder to travel with this type of weapon. It will travel out to about 3 feet. So if you see gunpowder on clothing, you want to know how much gunpowder was found. You want to know how many particles were found and what the orientation would be. If I found 3 or 4, I'm thinking it's at the very end, which is about out to 3 feet. If I test it and there's 100 gunpowder particles, that means it's very close. Again, the tighter the pattern, if it's a very tight pattern, I know the gun's very close. If it's farther away, with only 1 or 2 particles, I'm at the end of the range of where the gunpowder can be transferred.
Let's say if I was on the inside of this car, based on this shell case found, do you think I was very close to him when that gun was fired?
Yes, sir.
From that shell casing and your ejection investigation, would you think gunpowder been on Officer Howard's shirt of this uniform?
Yes, sir.
Could you explain why?
Because within 3 feet, you would expect to see gunpowder. That's how far it deposits gunpowder with this type of weapon, approximately 3 feet.
Okay, did anybody from the prosecutor office or anybody ever show us any gunpowder tests on Officer Howard's clothes?
No, sir.
Did you find that strange?
I do.
Why is that?
Because I think it goes back to the investigation. You want to know what the range of fire. It just makes the crime scene, you're trying to tighten up everything, so you want to know what the range of fire of the shooter was. You want to do everything you can to try to make the crime scene is critical to know everything about that, so therefore it should have been done. And it is standard to be done.
Could you tell the jury what you see in defendant exhibit 240? State's exhibit 240.
This is the close-up of the driver's side rear tire. That's just a close-up of the cartridge case, just giving an area where the cartridge case was located.
Did you tell the jury what you see in State's exhibit 496, sir?
This is the trajectory analysis that they did, that the bullet traveled through Tony Howard's car. You can see how the rod comes across, strikes the very edge of the notebook, this little belt, and then it goes right to the door area.
Could you tell the jury what you see in State's Exhibit 215, sir?
This is a picture of the opposite side of Tony Howard's car.
Do you see anything in the picture that would indicate the gun was a gun, that I fired a gun from the right side of the passenger car?
No, sir. There are no cartridge cases. There are nothing on this side of the car.
So if I had ran around to the right side of the car and fired the gun, would there be any evidence that I fired the gun?
Yes.
Cartridge cases, anything?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would there have been any evidence on the inside of that car if some bullets would have came in from this passenger side?
Absolutely.
Did you tell the jury what you?
You would expect to see bullet defects traveling in through the car from this side. There are no bullet defects. There are no cartridge cases. There is no evidence to support that you were ever on this side of the car firing a weapon.
Do you recall asking me to request me? Do you recall asking me to request from the prosecution some pictures of Officer Tony Howard?
Yes, sir.
Why did you want to
No,
request?
that-
Why would you want to request pictures from Officer Tony Howard as a forensic expert?
I want to see what the defects in the body look like, what the wounds, what the orientation. Are they irregular? Is there stippling around the defects? Things like that can help me, again, determine the range of fire. Just like on the clothing, you're looking for gunpowder. If it strikes skin, you're looking for stippling, which is bruising of the skin by unburnt gunpowder particles. So again, I'm looking for a nice tight pattern, or maybe one or two stipple marks. Again, that gives me a range of fire.
Did we ever receive any picture after we requested photos from Officer Tony Howard?
No, sir, not to my knowledge.
I would move to strike all of that. There was not ever any request from the defendant, nor would this person know that. And the only way he might know it is if somebody told him that, which is pure blank hearsay.
Did you request any pictures yourself?
No, sir, I did not.
Sustain the objection.
You know, I thought I requested pictures for forensic purposes. Do you recall telling me that, or am I mistaken? I thought you. Is it me?
He just said he.
Well, I guess it's me then, if he said. Well, what did you request? X-ray, what did you request?
I requested for you to request the pictures. If you say you did it,
Okay.
that's all of my knowledge. I know we talked about that.
Okay, so you did,
I never personally requested
okay,
any
you told
photographs.
me to request it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's better. Okay. So did you tell me to request the pictures for forensic so you can get a better
No, that's a
understanding?
leading question. I mean, that.
Okay. So, explain the stippling in skin. Explain how that happened. How did that happen? How did the stippling get there?
No, that is absolutely outside of his qualifications. There's no basis to do that. Firearms identification in that regard. There is no basis that is certainly outside of any area which Your Honor authorized him to testify. Anything about stippling, when you talk about stippling on the skin, he is not medical examiner. He's never done that work, nor they established any qualifications. You know, he can talk about that whatsoever.
Well, he have brought several officers in here talking about the range of fire and what they shooting at and what the bullet could have landed on clothes if we got goggles on. They weren't expert. They weren't qualified. Why he gonna holler when I have my expert back? Are they here for the truth? If he can answer the question, it's on the jury to believe it or disbelieve.
There's no basis. I mean, anything about firing a weapon and the experience off the bat is one thing, but there's been nothing laid about this witness, about stippling on the skin or anything like that. He has any knowledge of anything.
virtual particles as far as stippling.
When you say stippling, though, you're talking about the skin. That is part of my training.
That's not what you qualify.
Well, Your Honor, all due respect, is the jury, they took the credibility to believe him or not. Now, we done brought several experts or people, officers, stating that this happened. The reason why I'm asking, because these experts said they couldn't do it. They can't recall it. It's undetermined. So we got an expert here who's qualified. As a matter of fact, can we ask him, is he qualified to do it? Do you know anything about it? But we just ask him. If he say no, we won't ask him.
You can lay the foundation.
Okay. Mr. Robinson, do you know any have any experience as far as stippling from a gun?
Yes, sir.
But you tell the jury your experience.
When I was at the GBI, trained under Mr. Kelly Fight, that was standard practice that we tested stipple patterns. We reviewed autopsy reports, we looked at gunshot wounds on bodies, and determined the orientation, the amount of stippling, the number of particles, and we would test fire the weapons in question in order to try to reproduce the stipple pattern that we saw on the skin. So this is very clearly part of my training. I had to view thousands of autopsies with doctors to discuss stipple patterns, to help the doctors in their determinations of the range of fires. So this is well within my qualifications.
Mr. Mall, do you want to go without a witness on that area?
I'll leave it on cross, Judge.
All right. I will allow it.
Ms. Robert, can you explain to the jury as far as how stippling get on skin and the function of that, please, sir?
When the gun is in close proximity to the skin, when it's fired, the gunpowder strikes the skin and bounces off. It leaves bruises on the skin. This is called stippling. You can also have, sometimes the gunpowder particles become embedded in the skin. So you're looking for also if there's gunpowder embedded in the skin, or is it just bruising. Stippling goes out to about 18 to 24 inches. So if you see stippling on the skin, it gives you a range of fire. The tighter the pattern, the closer the gun is to the skin.
Okay, if we had some pictures of Officer Tony Howard, could you have a forensically see how far they're going, how close they're going, was for him, was on him?
Yes, sir.
Could you explain that to the jury?
Yes, sir. Based on the stippling, or if there was lack of stippling on his skin, they would have given an indication whether the gun was within 2 feet or greater than 2 feet.
Okay. So without no pictures of Officer Tony Howard, we couldn't even, it'd be impossible to tell.
Yeah, that's a leading question. I would reject.
Okay. If you don't have no pictures of Officer Tony Howard, could you tell if stippling was on his skin at all?
No, I cannot.
Okay, so what you find is strange, they won't show these pictures in order for forensic purposes as far as stippling on the skin to indicate how close the gun was as far as a thorough investigation.
Yes, sir. I think it would be, it is hindering the forensic part of my investigation because I wasn't allowed to view those photographs.
Okay, that's right. So could the clothing have been tested to determine the range of fire on Officer Howard?
Yes, sir.
What would have the clothing told you?
Again,
Okay,
It's
he
already
already,
been asked, yeah.
I see it, he already had, I was wrong. Who would have been the person as far as the GBI who would have tested the clothing? Who would have done that?
I guess on this case, it would have been Kyle Felix.
Why would it be important for him to do that as an expert?
It would have been important because you want to know what the range of fire is, what the proximity of the muzzle of the gun was to Mr. Howard during the shooting, to validate the story, either your position, their position, a number of different things could have been answered by performing that test.
Should it have been done in your field, in your opinion, should it have been done by Mr. Field?
Yes, sir. It's standard procedure. When someone's shot, the clothing is submitted. We test the clothing for gunpowder. Yes, sir.
Have you reviewed any reports I discovered that would indicate the state tested Officer Turner Howard's clothing for any gunshot, gunpowder, or stippling, anything?
No, sir, I have not.
But you find it to be strange in a death sentence case?
Definitely in a death sentence case, yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Robinson, let's move to the Officer Christian police shooting incident scene. Please discuss the qualification placement and what they mean to you at that particular scene.
Can we review the photographs?
Oh, yes, sir. Okay. I'd like you to look at State Exhibit 329, sir. Would you tell the jury what you see in State Exhibit 329?
This is Officer Christian's vehicle. You see the cartridge case. One cartridge case is right outside the door. The second cartridge case is approximately 3 feet on the edge of the door when the door is open. So this is the positioning of the 2 cartridge cases that were fired into Officer Christian's vehicle.
Could you please discuss the qualification placement and what they mean to you at this particular scene in this State's Exhibit 329?
The gun is, extremely close to that vehicle. It's almost up against the door because the cartridge cases would be bouncing out onto, it's probably striking you. It had to be very close proximity because of the way the glass is inside the vehicle, which we'll see in a minute. And then the way the cartridge cases are both within 4 feet of the car itself. I've already told you that this gun ejects to the right and rear over 6 feet. So both cartridge cases are well within that distance. So therefore, that indicates to me that they must have bounced off of you, which means the gun was in close proximity to you and the vehicle.
Okay. I'd like you to look at State's Exhibit 258.
Again, this is a close-up view. This is the outside cartridge case. This is the inside cartridge case. So the 2 cartridge cases are right there, very close. The second cartridge case being right outside the edge of the door.
I'd like you to look at State's Exhibit 256.
Again, this is another angle of the cartridge case being right outside the door. The first cartridge case being right up close to the vehicle.
I'd like you to look at State's Exhibit 290, please, sir.
This is a picture showing that there's glass. The glass goes all across the vehicle. It goes glass being found across the other side. This again indicates to me that the gun, the weapon itself, was right up against the glass when it was fired. When you fire a bullet through glass, it just pokes a hole through the glass. But when you place the weapon with the muzzle very close to the glass, you have that gas pressure. That pressure is what shatters the glass the way it did and exploded the glass across the car, which tells me that the muzzle of the gun was right up against the glass when it was fired.
Look at State's Exhibit 461. Tell us what you see in this.
This is the defect in the passenger side seat of Officer Christian's vehicle.
How did that get there? What do you think about how it get there?
That's the bullet defect. That's where the bullet went into the seat.
Could a trajectory rod, anything told you the bullet path for that?
Yes, sir. They could have placed a trajectory rod into the bullet path, and then it would have given an indication of what the path of the bullet was as it entered the vehicle.
Okay. Off your review of this case, did you find a trajectory rod? Did anybody perform the test, put a trajectory rod in there and test that?
No, sir. Not on Officer Christian's vehicle.
Did you find that to be strange, that they used one on Officer Elmer car instead of Officer Chris's car?
Again, yes, sir, I did. I would have liked to have seen that. Again, it would have given an indication of where the muzzle of the gun was pointing and given a better location of the shooter.
Okay, could have, from your opinion and your expertise, could a Ejection rod been stuck right here in the seat to determine the path for the bullet?
Absolutely.
I'd like you to look at State's Exhibit 1124. All right, cameraman. Show it up. Okay. Could you tell us what you see here?
You see the wound on Officer Christian's neck, a wound to his chest. They both go in elliptical fashion. They're called keyholes. That means the bullets pass through the glass. When the bullets pass through glass, they begin to tumble. So when they strike a body sideways, then that means like a square instead of going in circular. So that means the bullets are called keyholing. You all see this is pseudo stippling from the glass when it's shattered from the glass fragments. You also see pseudo stippling on his right arm over here where the glass came across the car and peppered both his face area and the arm area.
Why would pseudo stippling have a gun on Officer Christian?
Again, because the gun was right up against the glass when it was fired, so it took a great deal of force to shatter the glass. So when it shattered the glass, the pseudo stippling occurred because the glass just, the fragments expelled across the car.
I'd like you. Okay, could you tell the jury what the term pseudo stippling means?
Pseudo stippling is the bruising of the skin by anything other than the gunpowder. The stippling is from the gunpowder. The pseudo stippling is caused by another source, such as you're not firing a weapon where the gunpowder strikes it. You shot something else, and then it shatters, so it pseudo stipples the skin.
Okay, would the glass prevent gunpowder from getting on anything because the glass there, would it prevent the gunpowder and stippling from getting on anything?
It does. The glass would have knocked down the gunpowder, yes, sir, to an extent.
That's it. Thank you. For now, subject to recalls, but
We take very short.
5 minutes, yes.